So this is like a matinee for me, you know. Well, actually, I have an even earlier one tomorrow, but nevertheless, this is
Hi, Selena.
uh, uh, underneath the veil of marigolds, and I'm very excited to have her here because, for one, she's the first West Coasterner, from the first person on the West Coast to be on my channel, and then it's also like the only the second time I've had a non where this is not a coloring the tarot sort of thing, and so this is just like um essence of Selena's and I's talk last talk, like it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so. Just
yeah,
about, yeah.
2 weeks ago, and so I'm gonna have more of these because as I work to manifest this show into what I originally um, saw it as being more like a talk
Talk
show.
show. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, all right.
which
That
is
sounds
also
good.
why I also started that second channel. So I have one that's like this pure tarot, and
Oh,
then
the separation.
separation. But it's mostly
Yeah.
because you do YouTube. It's like you can only do so much variety before the algorithm really just kicks you back.
Yeah. Yep. Kicks the bucket on you. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. You
hmm
know, even like even within the same, you think you're doing the same topic, but it doesn't see it that way.
No,
You,
it's getting more intricate as the years go by, too. There's more and more stuff they update it with. So,
yeah. Well, why don't you start out by telling everyone here and about your channel and what it is that you do.
well, my channel is basically like an online book of shadows for the most part. I remember when I first started my channel, I wanted to see content on how to, but not just how to. I wanted to know why we're doing it this way, and where is the knowledge and the experience coming from. It's something that I had a hard time finding on YouTube, especially when it came to spell work and materials. What do they mean, and etc. along those lines. So I decided when I started physically practicing witchcraft, which was about a year after, because I was reading about it for most of my life. I just haven't physically put forth those actions to make it a thing. But I knew, like, intuitively that I already know how to do this. I've done it before, I've done it in past lives. It's nothing new. So don't be scared, just make the channel. And so that's what I did. It's like a documentation of my spells. I have some random vlogs on there. I'm just pretty much unrelentlessly me on there. Curse
Mhm.
words and all, regardless if people like that or not. So that's how it goes. I try to give as many tips and tricks and different ways to do things on there because I don't want people to feel like they're in a closed off box. I want them to feel like there's multiple ways to do things because there is. So that's basically kind of the gist of it.
Yeah, and so you got a lot of your. It looks like it's a bookshelf with all your goodies and stuff on it, and
Oh yeah, I got all my herbs and stuff back there.
yeah, well, because I was like
Book of
listening to
Shadows.
one of your show your things because I was trying to figure out what how because like I really don't have any knowledge of witchcraft and as I was talking with my background being in in Christianity that of course you and then I never really studied witchcraft or anything like that because I would my esoteric studies went in a different direction and went more towards like religious universalism or whatever but it didn't go towards paganism and stuff like that
Mm.
and you know so I don't have that knowledge at all and so I was kind of excited to have someone on that and of course Selena has that knowledge and other people
Oh
do but
yeah,
you yeah
Selena definitely does. Yeah,
yeah
she's a walking book of shadows too, in personal experience. Yes.
well but I guess I was like thinking of one of those things where you're talking about using insect parts in your as far as these are just the different elements in the potions, but maybe you don't want to put that on your skin as a means of protection from the outside world.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
so
yeah, yeah, definitely. Because some things can break your skin out. It could be even just be an essential oil that just does you in. You never know, but it's not necessarily the safest thing to do is put a dead insect or a dead animal on your skin. But so but they do offer different properties and you can use them in a different ritualistic approach. It doesn't have to be something that you put on your body. It can be something you anoint a candle with or put into a working that's not going to be on your body. Things like that.
yeah, I guess I've had a incense burner for years, but I don't really burn with the kinds of incense I was burning in it was. But then I realized, you can ring this like a bell, and so I've been using it for that way. But that I was using, like, because like when I first went to a monastery, and it was that deep spirituality that I experienced in going into a monastery, and in the with the monks and the incense and all of that was, was just the things about the whole Catholicism that attracted me, was all that ritual.
Mhm.
And then when I lived in Seattle, I was like, I was going to all these different churches all the time, including Orthodox ones. And I thought, oh well, out in Ballard they had a, like a pre-Vatican II one. Now I went there, but I didn't really. It wasn't really the theology that attracted me, because actually the theology was a big turnoff, but it was all those little details and the rituals and everything, and which was highly attractive to me. And
Mhm. Yeah,
that's kind
added
of,
the meaning, the purpose to it. At
yeah.
least for me it does. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you think about it, it's like, if because we've only had widespread literacy for a couple hundred years, and actually even less that people could actually know how to read and write, maybe like 150 years, maybe, and then just for a short time. And so then you think about, what does a person take away from these kinds of practices who doesn't know how to read and write? Have you ever
Yeah.
kind of thought about that? And you think of, let's say, you like, you gather in a. So if I would think of what the Swedish roots of mine, and the because that's where I was talking to my sister today, and she talked about, oh yeah, this line has had a lot of witches in it, and so forth. Of course, you have the Vikings, and then you have the Christianity that was there, but then there was still the folk art that was there too, because it's like, one of my grandfather confessed on his deathbed that he was of Jewish descent, but he was a Lutheran. But then, think, okay, well, you hide in this predominant Christian empire by being participating in this Christianity, so you don't get killed.
Mhm.
And then at the same time, you practice these folk arts. And so maybe there would be the rituals out in the forest, and all that. And so you get like Midsummer Night's Dream and the Shakespearean tale, and they had talking about have all that stuff. But have you gone to any of those type of group rituals and so forth?
I never have, no. I'm mostly a solitary practitioner. I've only practiced once with one other person, and that was to help benefit her in a spell to get revenge on someone else.
I see.
So we never did any other spells together. That was the only one.
Mhm.
She was kind of too scared to make the spell pack the most punch. So I said, if you need anything else done, just let me know and I'm going to do it alone. Because typically, a lot of the time, people tend to ruin these things for me. And so that's why I practice a lot of my stuff alone.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So then it's kind of like, The second best, in my opinion, fantasy novel ever published was Raymond E. Feast, The Rift War Saga. And there were two levels of magicians there. There was the like a magician who did just a kind of solitary person who's out in a cabin out in the woods, and they are or whatever, and they are studying and doing their practice. But then when the main character gets whisked away into this other world, and he learns his magic, what they call the greater arts or whatever, and then it was all a group thing and doing group magic and so forth. And in a sense that, this is sort of solo magic, and so you can, oh yeah, anyway, I don't know if that made any sense or not, but
No,
that,
it did. I just wanted to wait until you were done talking before I
yeah.
said anything. I wanted to hear you out fully. Um, but no, yeah, it makes sense. My
And
practice is more solitary. I know a lot of people tend to have covens and other groups of witches where they celebrate the Sabbats and all that stuff, but I typically don't. I celebrate Samhain, Day of the Dead, and that's about it. I'm not one of those witches who celebrates every single Sabbath out of the year. That's just not
yeah.
my thing. I do appreciate the changings of the seasons and whatnot, and the energies that come with that. It's just not something that I personally do.
Well, because I almost like put on the on the thumbnail, I wanted to put Black Sabbath on there because Black Sabbath is one of my favorite rock bands,
And they're a
and
good band.
and this we're at the eve of the Sabbath right now, and but then I don't know if that might be a step too far, so I put what I did down on there, and but
I mean, it
anyway,
still looked good. I like the
yeah,
art and everything, and all the stars.
yeah, yeah. So you have like
Indecent exposure. What? Mr. OD. You
indecent,
always say something, or my eyes are like, what is that?
yeah, yeah. So okay, so you have I guess to ask it that when it was the elements of magic, and you have these individual properties and how they work together. Could you like go through like a simple example of that, of just how a few of the properties, and then you do the the ritual and all of it, and how it how the magic happens. Can you just kind of
How the
go through
magic
that?
happens. So like
Yeah,
starting like designing like a spell or something. Does it
yeah,
matter on the preference of what you're looking for of the spell?
yeah,
Just
yeah. So
anything? Is it-
just an example. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, money magic. Let's see. So for us, I would typically go off of properties of what the herbs mean because each one does have their own like planetary signs and what rules over that. Like Jupiter is in abundance, and you would find other herbs or spices that correlate with that energy to bring in abundance and or prosperity. And you could do it on a Thursday um, if you utilize days of the week to do your spells, because each day does mean a different thing. Not everybody believes that. A lot of practitioners will say you can do that shit whenever the heck you want. I'm not sure if I should be cursing on here or not. I don't know because a lot of the time I just say whatever on my channel. So I'm gonna try to keep it clean for your channel. Um, but a lot of times you can use the days of the week, or a lot of the times you can say, losing my train of thought. It's because all these little comments are like filtering.
Yeah. I'm
um,
watching them go by, and so we have Welcome Cosmic and Madame Maru, welcome, and Enthusiastic Strago, welcome.
that's my partner. His
That's
name's
your
David.
partner. Oh,
Yep.
okay, all right. Well,
He's my
continue.
David, not Selena's David, because Selena, her guy's name's David as well. So funny how that works. There's too many Davids. Um, but yeah, where you could use the full moon to bring in prosperity or abundance. You can use the new moon to get rid of things. So you can go along creating a spell like that. There's a lot
Mhm.
of different meanings and synchronicities that you can piece together that amplify the working that you're working on. If it's either for love, money, luck, success, trying to find a new job, win a court case, whatever it is, you can compile all these things together in order to amplify and have a better manifestation, if that makes any sense.
So what you're doing essentially is you're manipulating your energy field
Yes.
that's around you.
Yeah.
It, it's around everybody. You're manipulating it, and so if I were to go back to Star Trek, which I haven't mentioned Star Trek yet today, but but
It's happening now.
you have now. Okay, so like you had in Star Trek the the method of healing and doing the medicine was all frequency, but it was using machines and tools, and for the most part, and they changed the frequency, or they did have some drug therapy, but there was like in the novels, they went into some of this stuff a little bit better. So it was like,
They always do. Always in the books. They leave a lot out when they make the shows and the movies.
yeah, yeah. Well, because a lot of the novels came out of after the original series ended, there were all these fan fiction, and I read like I don't know, like 30 of those novels,
Wow.
and the best one being like from the Sky, which was just a fantastic tale, and but none of that ever filtered into the movies or anything like that. But nevertheless, so was talk about things like that, but that those frequency changes, and because our atoms that all the molecules and atoms, everything is in there, it's vibrating at different frequencies, and so maybe it just seems to make sense that maybe that is what the medicine of the future will be, is the manipulation of the energies within the cells in order
The
to
molecules, yeah.
repair the DNA, instead of like maybe what we're doing with drug therapy is we're taking a hammer to it, and we're taking
Right.
a hammer to it,
Breaking
and
it.
or even surgeries, we're taking a hammer and we're just smashing this body up, and sometimes
Yeah.
it works. And over the last what 2, 3, 400 years that we've been really kind of doing a more scientific approach on medicine, we've just been banging away and banging away and banging away, and eventually we figure some things out, but maybe it's this next step. And so whereas like I think it was what Cosmic he said on his live, where we had like science our scientific method came out of alchemy, and so maybe the next revolution of science and medicine comes out of spirituality.
Yeah,
And
I think so too. I think a lot
yeah,
of it is based on a good chunk of spirituality and within many cultures, not just like, the Celtic or Norse or whatever. Like even India, the Native Americans, everybody has, if you watch throughout the cultures and study their lore and their medicines and the ways that they would cure and fix people, it's it's a lot of old school techniques. It's a lot of plants. It's a lot of medicinal healing. They were trying to work with the energy they already had to get the most plausible and powerful outcome. And I know a
yeah,
lot of, like you're saying, like the surgery and them trying to hammer at it and just cut straight into it and fix it isn't really fixing it. They a lot of the times do make things worse. And all these band-aid drugs that they try to give people don't heal them. They just patch it up.
mhm,
It's not helping them as much as it could be.
yeah. Because I noticed that, like, if I never consume stuff like this, I feel better. But
Right.
I love the taste, but I like Coca-Cola. I prefer the sugar type, but I can't because I'm whatever. So I'm getting old, but getting old. And, but nevertheless, I know that aspartame and that other stuff that goes into Coke Zero, it's is toxic for your body, and you can smell it. Yeah, and so yeah,
About health.
yeah. I don't, I go through roughly like a 12 pack a month, maybe maybe a little bit more, but I tried I've gotten it down from a lot more down to that. But nevertheless, I do realize that putting stuff like this in, it does change the frequency of your body, and
Yes.
it changes your energy levels and
The monks
everything.
believe in that stuff, and they're right.
Yeah,
It does.
yeah,
It really
yeah.
does.
Or even like alcohol. I haven't had that in ages, and
Oh, kudos to you, man. You don't need the crap. You
well,
really don't.
I know I like liquor, and
Yeah, me
when
too.
I went on when I went on the metformin about 13 or 14 months ago, it's like all the literature on it said there's no safe amount of alcohol that you can consume and take that drug,
Right.
and
But
you
it's
know
okay to have a glass of wine while you're pregnant, one every day. They say, and I'm like, what the heck is that? Where'd you get that information from?
yeah,
But it's a thing. It's crazy. I don't think it's safe, but people are gonna do it regardless. So
yeah. Okay, so then we got off a little bit off track here, but we're kind of on there. So it was this whole, you have all these different elements, and you weave them together, and you're manipulating your energy field. But
yeah,
then how is it that, okay, I know why, because it's that you are also manipulating the non-local consciousness that extends around you as well.
pretty much. Because each thing that you use, it has its own energies that you can utilize. And most things are pretty versatile. Like if you're
Mhm.
using basil, you can use that for health, you can use that for protection, you can use that for money. There's a lot of different things that your materials fall under. And if you bless it and tell it, "Hey, I need you specifically to do this." So it's taking on that task. You subconsciously and the plant itself is now connected to that task and you set forth that plant
Mhm.
or whatever material on that mission. That's its job now.
Hmm. And so then if
That's how I see it.
you see it in that way, then you go back to,
The
let's say,
basil is good in sauce.
whereas we before we turned the camera on or turned on, and I was talking about magic that exists within the Catholic Church, or actually, it exists within the entirety of Christianity, because they are doing it and they don't realize it, because the prayers when they are praying, or they're doing deep praying, they are putting that word out there, and and maybe to, oh, well, they're my ex. Oh, can you please come back? Oh, I
Yep.
miss you so much. And so
That's
that's
basically a spell right there,
those
That's what they
intentions,
want.
but they can't call it magic because of whatever prohibitions there are
Yeah.
against that word. So you can't call it magic
They
because
placed those restrictions on themselves. They shouldn't have done that.
yeah, yeah.
They could have wrote those things a little bit differently in the Bible,
Mm,
and
mm.
it
Yeah,
would have
but
been okay.
okay. So you have like the individual properties of different elements, and you put them together. So let's say like basil, and then let's say what does that do? And then maybe what about like ordinary lawn grass? Does that have its own properties and stuff like that?
I'm pretty sure it does. I mean, I intuitively go off most the properties for things, but usually when I tend to like Google it or look it up or ask somebody else, they usually have pretty much the same vibe and
Yeah.
a same reasoning behind it or research there. So when I see grass, I see like abundance or fertility, also protection. I don't know exactly what grass would do, just your regular plain lawn grass. Like if you went to mow the lawn and just grabbed a bunch of that stuff, I'm not 100% sure, but that's what I see and that's what I feel like if I'm walking on grass or just looking
Mhm.
at it and where it's growing and how it's growing. That's how I intuitively make up what it's going to do. If that
So
makes any
I'm
sense.
going to pause you for 1 minute. Mr. Oakley Bean, I do remember you, and I remember you in a sense that many of the times that you popped into my live streams was like 2 seconds before your phone died. And I remember that very much. But nevertheless, I just wanted to just to be, anyways. And so what? So do you? Can you tell? Let's say what kind of a process then do you go to for testing new materials in order to figure out what it is that they do? Because I'm assuming you're in advanced enough in your knowledge that you know how to do that to figure that out, or do you just have to go into the book? Or you're still in a place where with the book knowledge and so forth.
I go between both. I don't like to rely on books too much because ideally, at the end of the day, your intuition's going to tell you what you need to know, anyways.
Mhm.
I don't always go 100% off the book. And a lot of people like to leave me crappy comments on my channel sometimes because they're like, this doesn't really do that. And I'm like, well, if I don't believe it's going to do such and such, then it's not entirely going to work for me. I don't have that connection with that certain
Mhm.
material in that sort of way. So I always say you shouldn't necessarily believe 100% what someone says or go off 100% what another practitioner does. I don't care if they've been practicing for 30 plus years. But I don't
Mhm.
care. I will follow my intuition at the end of the day. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe you should because it's there for a reason. If something feels wrong, like you shouldn't enter this room because you feel like this really bad sensation, then you probably shouldn't do it. A lot of the time, it's right.
I see. So essentially, what it is that, and any Christian that might possibly listen to this will think I'm a
Right,
blasphemer.
Selena.
A blasphemer, 'cause but when you go and look at, I think it's in Jeremiah. In Jeremiah, I think well, I always think of Isaiah, but I know it's not Isaiah, but Jeremiah, and it talks about writing the law on the heart of the, and that this come, and so this is this sense of that may be what our intuition is. The law may not necessarily be a list of commands and everything else, but it may be something more. So it's more of a connection, that this spark, this connection, that maybe at one time we had to go use a intermediator in order to access that, but that statement, and to me, I read it as we don't need an intermediator to access the divine realm. What
Right.
we have is enough. And so this sense of that law that is written on your heart is not necessarily it's more universal than, now granted, if you were going 2,000 years ago, you wouldn't necessarily think in those universal terms, but we have evolved spiritually as an entire um, species that are starting to think more universally. Not everyone, but some people are. And so I guess I would say that intuition of what you go out into the world and you look at a blade of grass and you touch it and you feel it, you can get a sense of what its consciousness is, what
Yeah.
it is projecting into the world. And so is that something that you feel then? And
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I see it. That's exactly how I feel it. So a lot of the stuff is intuition based. It's like what Miss Tro D is saying. She's like, I always believe that centuries ago, witches or any practitioners didn't have any books or communities and had to mostly learn and practice intuitively. That's really what it
right.
comes down to. Just imagine some cavemen out there. Like, how the heck did they figure out how to start that fire? They had to play around with things in order to get a grasp on what kind of steps they can take to create the next step in their reality. It wasn't just in front of them. It was a lot of trial and error at the end of the day. So that's
And
what I believe.
kind of like what I had said earlier about, we've only known how to read and write for a short time, and
Yeah.
we've had the printing press since the 1400s, I believe. So the 1400s, you had the printing press, and just a decade or so after that, you had Martin Luther nailing his 99 theses on the wall of the church, and then the church fractured. And then around that same time, you also had the Solabusca tarot, the very first tarot deck that that, or at least this is in whatever you call with tarot archaeology, you would say that was when the first tarot deck came into existence, and then and then so forth, and that all of that happened right around the time of the printing press coming into existence, and then people learned how to read and so forth. But prior to that, the some majority of the people didn't know how to read, and so they had to do learning was done differently, and
Yeah.
so forth.
But
Yeah.
we made it to what it is today.
Yeah.
Yeah, David's right. You don't need tools or anything. It's really just it's a conductor, the items that you use. You already have the power to shape your reality. You really do. It comes from the mentality, what you see, how you perceive things, how you taste things. Like every sense of your body is something that manipulates and turns the reality around you. It really is. You don't really need materials. He is right. So
Hmm.
a lot of
Which is,
people overdo the materials, but it's not necessary. It's just a tool.
I mean, if I could go find it, which is exactly what is in the Gospel of Thomas. It says other Gnostic Gospels in it, but it talks about that's you. It doesn't. It talks about that into a sense of that you can, um, with the power of mind, you can make things. You can make things, and well, let's say you can make a mountain move and it will move, but that seems kind of, you look at that and it seems kind of impossible. But then that's kind of what you're talking about, and so collectively, as a species, collectively, if we got together, we should be able to manipulate the energy, and
Yeah, all of us together trying to focus on one big shift, that would be a lot of energy.
yeah,
That would
and
help things get into fruition a lot faster
yeah.
if we could, but everyone's always beefing with each other. So,
Well, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So what we have here, focus on tools and your need, and so then you have the tools, but you don't really, I think ultimately you don't necessarily need the tools, because I was thought about this, and let me see if I can easily find it here. Is that we have our tarot cards, because it being that, but do we really need the tarot cards to do a reading?
No. Back in the days, a lot of practitioners or high priestesses or priests, or it depends on the culture, but I've read that you can actually just stare into someone else's eyes, and that's the gateway to their subconscious mind to see all their trauma. You can figure out people's past lives just by staring into their eyes. It's a
Mhm.
type of meditation. It's like type of gazing medication. Meditation. Oh my god, medication. The words are hard, but if you allow yourself to open up enough, basically is what I'm saying, and feel comfortable with the individual that you're scrying into and using their eyes as a gateway, you can see everything if they allow you to. Because, people have walls up for their own personal defense, and just in case this person's sketchy and they're not going to let you in. So it gets
Mhm.
harder to kind of read and flow with their energy. But either
So I brought this up when I was talking with Selena, and I've had this experience on multiple times um with mostly with romantic interests, of staring into the eyes and seeing the face change and morph into other faces, and from faces, from alien faces to, yeah, yeah. And so that's kind of, I don't I bring that up because I've never heard of anybody else talk about that, but I'm sure that it happens, and
Mhm.
happens a lot, because I think I remember I was like a teen, it was like a late teenager, and I was like staring into my eyes in the mirror, and then what showed up was a monster, and I think, well, is that what I think of myself? Maybe because maybe that was my own self image of myself at that time, and
Possibly, yeah.
you know, and but then maybe who knows, maybe, but then I have had other experiences, um, just seeing different faces and so forth.
Froze. Yeah.
Yeah, I know we froze because I saw
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
Just look at someone and yeah, Maria, that's right. That's exactly it. That's how I
yeah,
read the majority of people. I could walk in a room and be like, I already know a lot about you before you opened your mouth. But I don't say that because I want to give people the benefit of the doubt to give them time to explain themselves and whatnot. But sometimes it does literally, it's the spinning image of what I thought a lot of the majority of the time. Like if I'm
mhm.
surprised, then I'm like, wow, you were really good at hiding your energy. I don't know how you did that. Kudos to you. But yeah.
Well, I've often had because I have a thing they call audio processing disorder. So I'm on the autistic spectrum. It's kind of in that realm,
We're
and
all a
so
little bit autistic anyways.
yeah.
So
Anyways, and
literally, literally.
yeah, but anyways, it's so like I would have a conversation with somebody, maybe it was a boss or something like that, and and then what I heard them saying was totally different than what came out of their mouth. What the words that came out of the mouth was this, but I heard them like saying, "Oh, you're a effing idiot," or whatever, or or blah blah this, and then I would go back to one of my my coworkers, and they said, "Well, what did they say?" And then I replayed. I said what they said, what I felt that they said, and I told the
Yeah.
story in that context, and they said, "No, they didn't say that," and I said, "No, that's what they
You
said."
didn't have to. You felt it.
I felt it, and I said, "Well, they're
Mm,
they go back to that person." I said, they would have, maybe if they probably would have, if they would have reported that to me, then they would have pulled me out and off the carpet and have some meeting. And well, I said, well, no. And if I would have said something, well, no, that's what your energy told me.
yeah,
When
exactly.
you talk to me, your body language and the intent, the emotional intent behind your words, that's what you said, you spoke to me, and that's what
Mm,
I heard.
exactly.
You may not have said that, but that's what I felt. That's what you said.
Oh, I
Because
understand that all too well. It
yeah,
happens to me a lot, and I'm like, yeah, that's not what you really wanted to say, but you're at the workplace and you have to be professional right now. But I can see what you're really thinking. I can feel it. You can see it in their actions. Sometimes people aren't good at hiding their actions either. But
yeah,
yes.
yeah. So it's like you can tell when a person's well, you get this sneaking suspicion, especially when you're with somebody that you know that is this person lying to me?
hmm The
Are they?
first suspicion's always the right one, at least for me. Like
Yeah,
my that suspicions never let me down. It
yes,
could take months could go by, and I'd be like, "No, it'll happen. You're gonna
mhm,
slip. It's gonna happen, and everyone's gonna see it." So,
yeah, yeah. Because I can remember when I was like, um, it was between the time I graduated from high school and I went to a 4-year college. I had to do a couple of years of remedial work in order to do that. But while I was there, and I was there with other people from my high school, and I would be um, looking at people and watching them, and then I would be like making up these entire stories about these people, like their whole backstory and things like that. And I'm thinking, and then I was like, the other day, I was like, was I making up their backstory, or was I feeling what their backstory was?
you were reading them, literally. You just figured out their whole life story pretty much.
Yeah,
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 you
that was
scryed
what.
into their energy.
Mhm. I didn't really realize it, but I was there doing that, and so yeah, and I think I've done that too. I think with like animals as well. I'll go watch like domestic cows or whatever, And but with
Mhm.
the wildlife, it's a little harder to tell because the wildlife, their consciousness is in a different state because
Yeah.
they're in a place of always needing to, they just in that fight and flight thing, and they're just always in a survival mode,
Yep. Yep.
and it's very difficult to read somebody who is in that state. But then how many people walking around are in that place?
Right. Exactly. There are a lot of people walking around in that fight or flight mode, trying to just survive, and yeah,
Surviving.
it really messes with their energy field. And
Hmm.
sometimes it can be hard to pick up, like if they're actually not the best person, or did something really bad happen to them and they're just not very good at processing and dealing with those emotions and energies that are coming with that. It can be a lot of different things interfering with their energetic fields.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
because if you have like 'cause I have an anxiety disorder, and I don't know if that's what it was, but maybe it's not necessarily an anxiety disorder. It's just being in a state of maybe having sensory overload all the time, or
Yeah, I feel you on that. I
yeah,
have a
because
lot of sensory overload and I have really bad anxiety. So
you talked about that a little bit on that one video where you went to a Renaissance
oh,
fair.
the Renaissance Fair. Oh my gosh. I mean, it was nice to see, the music, and all the vendors and stuff that was going on there. And but it was like in the peak of summer when I went, and that attracts a lot of people in Seattle and Washington, like because we only get like 3 good months out of the year. So everyone's like, I'm gonna be there. We're gonna go do this thing, all the events.
Hmm.
And I'm like, "It's just too many people," and it really is an overload, on my mind because I can feel everything around me, and when I'm surrounded and jam-packed by too many people in my area, I pick up on everything that's coming from them. I can try really hard to block it out, like, I wear, like, talismans and, like, amulets and stuff everywhere I go, and I put my energy shields up, but at the end of the day, there's only so much that your mind can focus on blocking out when you're
Hmm.
trying to do other things at the same time or trying to literally enjoy yourself, but you can't because there's too many people. Um, yeah, so I understand the anxiety.
Maybe you need to go to a concert then. I know there's
Concerts?
a whole lot of energy, but the energy might be focused a little bit different if you went to go see like a really big headliner, because there's not very many of those big headliners left.
Yeah, I
And
do better when there's loud music. It like deafens out the energy of the people around me,
yeah.
which is weird because some people with anxiety don't, but some people do. But I guess I'm just one of those people who do because it just
Mhm.
drowns out my surroundings a lot better.
Yeah, because then when you go to a big show, it's you have all those energies there, but they're all focused on the music, and then you can get swept away into this group consciousness, and you can experience collective consciousness in a totally different manner when because everybody there likes the music, and they're into it, and they're into that thing, and you're and there's no experience that's like going to a concert. And like I think the biggest concert I ever went to was Coldplay.
Mm.
And I saw it at the Moda Center in Portland, and I think there was like what 40,000 people there, something like that.
Wow. Yeah.
And
I've already been.
I went to a mass once that had a lot of people like that, and it was the same experience. You have, and I'm sure that you go to these big church services. It's the same experience, and you have this same thing. And and it's all the same.
Yeah,
And
right. The
you
energy
know,
is focused on the one thing, and everybody wants that one thing. So,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. The costumes, yeah, we wear those costumes and so forth, and
yeah,
put those masks on and everything. Yeah. All right, so we have yeah, it's just finding that whole thing of we go back to you testing, you're using your intuition and you're testing the properties of these items, and then how long did it take to be able to figure out how to piece those together in order to create something new that wasn't less necessarily in any of the books that you'd written? So you're writing, so what you're doing is you're composing, like you're writing a poem, but you're composing a new spell or a
Yeah,
new.
creating a new masterpiece. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It depends. It depends if you want it to be a ritual, if you want it to last, a couple days or a day, how fast, how much time you want to invest into it, basically.
Mhm,
Um, but when I first started out, I was having a hard time trying to not listen to what other people were telling me I should be doing because deep down I was like, no, that doesn't resonate and that doesn't sound right.
mhm.
And I kept trying to flutter towards people and practitioners who were more experienced, who were doing it longer. And then I found this channel. Uh, Her name is the Lady Grave Dancer.
Mhm.
She doesn't practice witchcraft anymore, and I think she changed her channel name to her real name. I still follow her. She still posts every once in a blue moon. But at that time, she was one of those witches who would say, no matter what someone else tells you to do, your intuition's always going to be right. And if you trust your intuition, you're going to get the best results
Yeah.
compared to listening to someone that you don't resonate with. And she was right because every time I didn't really listen to it and I was like, no, I'm not going to use that because that's not right. And my research shows me that that's not really a thing and it's not how it would be used. And those manifestations are either really weak or they just didn't happen at all. So,
Right.
so I when I started really sticking to my guns, it took me about a couple years, and I was like, no, I'm doing it this way, and everyone else can just f off. So,
Mhm,
so that's what I did, and that's what I kept doing, and that's how I've gotten the best results. So,
mhm.
you gotta trust yourself above everyone else's horrible comments.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is like in YouTube, there's a lot of that, and hey, Clint, welcome, welcome. Yeah, and Clint's like from Newfoundland, so he's like clear on the other side of the continent.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, and so yeah, that's interesting. Now, um what does your channel name mean?
Well, I did change it, but it went from One Fit Bruja to Underneath the Veil Marigolds. And I wanted the transition into this Underneath the Veil of Marigolds to mean uh, what's underneath everything, like
Hmm.
underneath our vessel. What's what's the energy that lies within that you can't see with your eyes? That's the type of energy that I'm trying to tap into, the unknown, basically. So that's kind of in a short story what it means.
So then what is the significance of marigolds?
Marigolds, I use them a lot in my practice. They're like literally one of my favorites to use. I work with Ganesh, and that's one of his offerings. And in the Hindi culture, they really like marigolds. I'm also half Mexican, so that goes a lot with my Day of the Dead type celebrations. And I put them all over my
Mhm.
altars, and I have some fake ones hanging up there that I just
Okay.
keep those up all year round. So it's
Th-
a
those.
heritage thing, and for the deities as well.
Hmm. So that's the marigold. So then you're with your heritage. Then it's Aztecs and it's um Indian as far as like Hindu Indian.
Well, I'm not actually Hindi, but that was just one of the gods that I gravitated towards.
I see.
I'm really mixed. I don't really know like my full line of what I'm mixed with, but I do have Italian in me. I'm half Mexican, and I have Cherokee Indian in me, but I don't know the rest on my mom's side because she does look like she's mixed with something else, but she does not know everything. So,
I see. So my sister popped in. Hello, hi Anne, and hello Kirk, and welcome. And so yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So then with that, I seen what I was looking that you are attracted to like Egyptian forms of magic as well.
Yeah.
And how does Egyptian magic sort of vary from let's say from there then to um like Viking magic or something like that?
Mm, I don't know a whole lot about Viking magic, but I know the Egyptians, everybody practiced magic. That it wasn't something that was cut off or limited to a certain individual. Everyone was allowed to practice, and their beliefs were very open. Uh,
Hmm.
they would adapt on different beliefs from different cultures. They wouldn't be shunning anyone else's religious beliefs or experiences in life. And a lot of their techniques are pretty simple. A lot of them are outdated, and I would consider dangerous now, but you shouldn't be doing. But their gods and goddesses are just they're really easy to work with. They're not like something that's a closed practice or cut off for uh, other practitioners to use, or
Hmm.
uh, what else can I say about them? Because I work with Bostat, and Bostat's been my goddess ever since I started physically practicing. So it's oh, it's better in real school.
So,
Why
so
is
yeah,
this better in real school?
you knew about one girl that I knew a I think she was a practitioner when I was in college. I think everybody was afraid of her. I think I was afraid of her too. Afraid that somebody would be casting negative spells or something like that, and
A lot of people kind of have that fear.
that kind
When
of a
they
fear.
hear witch, they're like, "Oh no, they're doing the bad stuff." Well, they might be, but there's no reason to be doing it to everybody. Even if you don't
Yeah,
know them and there's no agenda against you, it's just kind of a waste of time. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know why I was thinking that, but I was thinking, well, did I like there something I was supposed to do that I didn't do, or and or something like that. I don't know. I mean, it was kind of all rather silly, but
No,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know that I've had a great time tonight. I hope that you've had a good time here, and
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
It's good. I mean, I was anxious, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
So then, do you practice tarot?
I do, but it's not really my go-to method. I like using a crystal ball. I have a giant obsidian crystal ball, and my other go-to method is to do water gazing, where you use a little bit of your own blood and you read how the blood flows in the water. So yeah, those ones are pretty much my favorites, and I love oracle cards. They're kind of a
Yeah.
little straightforward when you're short on time.
Hmm. Yeah. So then, how exactly? I mean, I have a little crystal ball here, but I use it mainly as a set piece more than anything else because I have my set, and because
Selena,
as,
yeah,
as an artist, I kind of think in terms of in the presentation and everything else, and not just that or have with also a slight background in theater too, and so with the YouTube, I think in terms of the YouTube as really, in a sense, not much different than um, doing a painting or something like that. I don't know.
yeah,
I look at it. I look at it that way. I look at it rather than I look at where my talents are, and I know that I have talents in
art,
there's
yeah,
art or there's my
yeah,
a sound of a voice, and so like how to capitalize on those things. And so I do think in terms of presentation, because when I look at other people's channels, I'm also looking at their presentation and everything. But yeah. And so yeah, so I don't the times I spent gazing into this, it just gives me a headache. And because I am prone to migraines. I think it's just a glass ball anyway.
yeah. It could be the material, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and so it's but it's really cool when you put it up to lights and then you put it
You
up to the
take cool
camera.
photos with that. I've seen people do it with the clear spheres.
Yeah, so different things, and so so that for me, this is nothing more than just a set piece, and but I do know that I mean, there's like mirror gazing, and for me, if I the closest thing to scrying that I do is the popcorn ceiling that I have above me, and when I'm waking up in the morning, I see all kinds of faces and shapes, and I've been seeing that for years. And like, oh, there's like some gnolls up there, some goblins, or the aliens, or whatever. So that I know that's not exactly the same thing, but you open up your um
Kind of sounds like you opened up your subconscious, like you could have been like in between
yeah,
worlds, in between planes.
yeah, and so you open up yourself to um seeing seeing things, because of course when you're waking up you have that's you're all open like that anyway. Bathroom tiles, yeah, I spend a lot of times looking at floors, Bobby, because it's like making patterns and everything,
Yeah.
and there's like linoleum floor. There's a no in the house, and it has it's irregular patterns, but I have been sometimes those patterns, they're not logical, and you can drive yourself nuts because the patterns aren't logical, and you want it to be in some logical order and whatnot, and yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah. Oh, I wonder what Nicolas Cage said. Must have been something bad, but that's fine. I don't care. Yeah. I guess the way I asked
Yep.
is that if you would like to come on again and do and you tell me how to color, and I will color it.
Okay. That sounds great.
That because I didn't ask you on for that, but I was just thinking that maybe this one might be, I can put your name on it, and sometime in the future we can do this together.
Yeah, that sounds
And
awesome. That
because that,
sounds relaxing.
yeah, and so then you talk, and you talk more about magic, and you talk more about stuff like that, and then um this is for a future date. I'm going to put this on here under Neith, the veil of marigolds. And then maybe I will have more questions to ask on your process and everything else, and to learn some more about this, and then maybe I know maybe. Oh, so my the room that I'm in used to be my sister's bedroom, and she said she saw an angel in here when she was
Oh,
7.
powers.
Yeah, so I didn't know that, but yeah. Anyway, so I have that, so that's good because I want to have you back on sometimes because there's not very many people on the I know there's a lot of people on the West Coast that do stuff like this. I just don't know any
Yeah.
of them except for now, and yeah. And anyways, we're up at about 1 hour, and um, yeah, mod powers for Miss Tarot D. Yeah, and so like, well, so like, uh, her first time going out on somebody's channel was on my channel, and now she's like all over the place and doing. Yeah, yeah. Hmm. All right. Well, I'm gonna um
Oh, how about that? West Coast, Southwest Arizona.
yeah.
All right.
Well, so Bobby, maybe Bobby would like to come on sometime for a talk, or to go on coloring the tarot. I know that I'll send you an email. It's from 999 show. You just don't, if you see it, it's not spam. And anyways, um So yeah, it's all my fault for Selena. Yeah. And then I'm also like just a few subs away on Tools
Thanks,
of
Mr. Odie.
to be able to go start live streaming because I'm live streaming on a telephone. I'm not on a computer.
Yeah, I got my phone. I was like, should I use my laptop and just keep my phone as a side thing to watch, or vice versa? And I was like, stop overthinking it, Dira. You're making your anxiety
Yeah,
worse.
well, yeah, yeah, and so I hope that you are, I know I understand that anxiety. It's but anyways, I think probably what I need to do is,
Oh, it's great to meet you too, Madame Maruse.
yeah, to do a computer in this room. I have to wire it for Ethernet.
Mm,
I do have a laptop, but I don't like the when I put a plug-in webcam in, it it decreases the amount of the Wi-Fi antenna, and so it's like I can't get a clear stream, and
yeah.
I'm not willing to do this show if I can't get a clear live stream, and so and also it's like I don't like the camera that's on those laptops, and now we're just going into like YouTube crap, and because of the camera angles, and also it's like I like this vantage point that I have here behind me, because if I expand it out a little bit more, then you see my clutter, and
Mm,
I don't want to show off my clutter, and then also there's like, okay, I'd have to extend this sheet over a little ways so that you wouldn't see all the clothes hanging up over there and all that, and all that, because and so it's just
yeah.
it's out of practicality, and I'm not a very good housekeeper. That's the thing that I don't have. It's like to do this in another part of the house, it means to I have to clean the house.
Get
I
all
need to
that
clean
ready. Yeah.
that stuff anyway, but it's like, it's
Yep.
just like
We love all types of
basically,
crazy,
yeah, yeah. Well,
ridiculous to fit right in. Yeah,
like talking with a
that's
buddy
good.
last night. I said how I think I only have like one normal friend, and everyone else is some kind of
Normal's boring. You don't want normal.
yeah,
No
yeah,
offense to your friend.
some kind of crazy, and or some kind of crazy, some kind of either whatever kind of crazy, and like with some of them, I was trying to find what kind of crazy. One person I've never been able to figure out what brand of crazy they were.
Brand crazy. There are some people like that. They got you questioning
Yeah,
it. You're like, I don't know how you even got like this, man. But already
yeah,
then.
yeah. Well, I know that everyone there in the chat has been having a great. And so, so
Better computer setup.
your man needs to get you a better setup. But so with
Mm,
like
we're
a
trying.
computer,
We're trying to get a house, but we're not sure if it's gonna happen or not. We're like hanging in limbo. So if we get it, then I can have a better computer setup. So we'll see.
what I would like, what I'd like, because like you do the if you're a small channel, I'm gonna try to do a video on this. And if you're a small channel and you're doing live streaming, it kind of makes sense to do this format that we're doing here, because I think was it 63% of YouTube users use their mobile device to access YouTube,
Yeah,
and so
I do.
it's like
Yeah.
less than 40%. No, and then there's like
Oh, that's
10%.
fine, Madam Order.
I think it's like 10% are watching it on their TVs, and so the people who are watching on their TVs, you know how difficult it is if you watch YouTube on the how difficult it is to push the like button, and you're in
Oh my
and
god, yeah, I was struggling with that earlier today when I was
yeah.
working, and I was like, just want to like this real quick, stupid freaking.
Well, well, I hit the like button automatically. It's the first thing I do when I click on
Smart.
it, regardless of whether I like it or not. And then I go through it. I think,
Done out of the way.
so let's turn up the speed a little bit, let's try it at 1.5 speed, and then okay, all right, well, let's skip ahead a little bit, and okay, well, then it's like, then if it's like I click on something, oh, this is AI voice. It's like click out, and then you go back in. Oh, don't recommend that channel to me again. I don't want to, I don't want to. I don't like that voice. I don't like that art. And but anyway, that's just me. And
No, yeah, we got our own little things, yeah.
yeah, yeah, do the like button right away, and yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
do that.
Smart. Get it
Yeah,
done.
have it. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, one
Yes,
that
Lena's on it.
I haven't figured out yet, but I know it must be possible is to go off on a desktop computer and go on a oh yeah, that's right, because those cameras cost $1,000 or more in order to where you plug them in and then you can fit them into the portrait mode so it can go in the 9/16 and
Mm,
you put it in this manner. Granted, I understand that the horizontal mode looks better. I get it, and it looks better. It looks better, and it is aesthetically pleasing. But
yeah.
it's the whole thing is that 63% of users view it this way.
Thanks, Mr. OD.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know. I've noticed that too because you get more views when it is the more elongated version. And when I first started out, I was doing like the more upright phone version, and I was like, that's not getting a whole lot of views. And my best friend was like, why are you filming like that? It looks so strange and awkward. Nobody films like that. And I was like, thanks. But I posted it anyways. But later on, I figured out maybe I should do it a different way. But I don't want to obsess over the details of like how my content looks either. I think that's also kind of ridiculous. And I don't want to stress myself out trying to do too much for what? It's my
Mhm.
channel at the end of the day. Do I like what I'm putting out? Do I like the way it looks? And then I'm done. That's it.
Yeah.
No more.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people. Well, a lot of people. I know this is like we're not a magic conversation. It's just
Yeah,
the
horizontal mode. That's it.
that they record their show first on TikTok. They download it and then they
TikTok.
upload it. Then they upload it to YouTube. And so but it comes through the shorts feed, and you access it through the shorts feed. And
Yeah.
now granted, when you do like we do this go live together with and you do it in that sense, you get a lot of riffraff, and that's true. And a lot of the riffraff got silenced right out of here by Miss Taro D. Thank you very much for your work tonight. And anyways, yeah. All right. Yeah. So the next time you come on, it'll be that color in the tarot, and so like the rules. There are no rules with this, and it's just a matter of whatever colors you want it to be. That's what they are. You don't have to like go to, oh, this is what the rider weight is. Now, if you want to, you're fine, but I would actually prefer that you didn't. But
Okay.
that's just
All right.
yeah,
Intuitive based. It is. That sounds
yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Janet G with Lee G. That's thank you very much. And while we're even
That's
uses
right.
Zoom.
Yeah.
I actually Bobby, I have Zoom and I do use it every Wednesday night. I host a writers group amongst with people that I've been writing with for a long, long time, and I do that on Zoom. And but it's sort of a closed group, and so is my with Seattle people, and yeah. But anyways, but I do use Zoom, but they pay for it, so it's not fine, right?
Oh, well, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Gets paid for. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I wish you luck on finding the house
Oh, thanks,
and
Bill. It's been
and
tough. I hope it
yeah,
works out.
yeah. Well, yeah, maybe owning property isn't all. Well, no, I don't know. I, I mean, I'm not renting, so I live in a really nice area in Oregon, and hopefully we don't get wildfires here, but we did it a few years ago. Got
Yeah,
wild, we got smoked out in 2020, was it? In the fall of 2020?
I think so. Yeah, because we had problems with wildfires over here too.
Yeah, yeah, and I had them just I lived close to the coast, and there was Otis and Rose Lodge there on the 1822 pass to the coast, and I'm kind of in that area
Mm.
and so I wasn't very far away from that fire.
Oh
That was really,
wow.
really close by. And then when there were like a whole trailer parks that burnt down, and you could smell that it was just toxic. The fumes were just toxic, and
Dang.
I
They
was
tell you
left.
guys to evacuate or anything, or was it no
Oh,
warning?
I was wearing my N95, but I had I had those masks anyway, even before the COVID, before anyone heard of COVID. I had a supply of those for because one I use them uh for varnishing things and for
Okay.
I this isn't varnish, but for like this, I did this with roots and waves, but to varnish a painting or something like that, and it's not like you want to go. And I was using a glaze that was better put on ceramics than it was on paper, and
Mm.
so it made a nice coating on it, and so that's not, you don't want to be breathing that stuff in, and so you'd be wanting to have the respirator, and I think, oh, I got this kind. I didn't want to spend the $50 on that, but nevertheless, it's like I bought the N95s, and so I had those, and so the day that those wildfires broke out, because there was two of them, there was one in the Cascades, and there's one just a few miles away,
Mm.
and all that smoke came in. Well, I went outside with my easel and I was painting the sky because I'd never seen it that color before. Even when I worked as when I was worked as a wildland firefighter, I'd never seen it that color before because it was
Wow.
all that toxic
Yeah.
fumes in the atmosphere. But yeah,
Well, you got yourself a prime moment there.
yeah, yeah. Anyways,
Thanks, Faye of the Forest.
thank you.
At least the Joseph stat. Okay. Lots of
Yeah,
tips here for that. Okay.
yeah.
I
But
like that.
anyway,
Okay.
I feel like I've dominated the conversation here.
It's fine.
But not much, just not so much as like some of the YouTubers I follow, like Steve Schmidt, when he does these lives with other people, and thinking, wait, isn't the this guy supposed to be talking?
It's hard sometimes because if I don't have like a structured something that I'm supposed to talk about, then my brain it's just dead. It's not gonna go off. Like I have to have like bulletins or notes, like notes and shit, like placed behind my camera so I can stay on track of like what
Mhm.
I'm gonna talk about. Or
Yeah,
else
yeah.
I'm lost.
So that's it. So you have you just script everything. When I first started this channel, I
For the most
scripted
part.
everything,
I got
but when
bulletins and I just kinda go from there and yeah.
yeah, I don't I'm when I do my solo live streams, I'm not scripted, and it's totally I'll do them if I have migraines. I've had migraines the last couple days, and it
Mm.
luckily they went away within just the last hour or two. And because I was thinking that's
Oh.
because it was. I don't I think it was because I put my garden in, and I had to rip out part of the lawn to do,
Mm,
and then when I put that rototiller in that area, it was like a jackhammer, and so and then I had grass that was like decaying for like 2 years in that place, and
dang.
then so it's like I have all that stuff that was going up in the atmosphere, and
Yeah, all the allergens and stuff making it
allergens.
worse.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh
And,
yeah.
but anyways, that's that. I'm not here talking about health stuff. Because you're too young to talk about health stuff, and
I don't know. I abused my body a lot growing up, so
yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, anyways, I really enjoyed having you on, and I'm looking forward to having you come on again, and we can do that, paint that, color up that Pentacles card, and
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, I'd
yeah,
love to.
yeah.
Yeah, I
All
like
right.
watching those videos. They're calming.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, one of my lights just went out, so that means it's
It's time.
time. All
All
right.
right.
Well, thank you. And so there's no backstage when you do go live together. It's there's a front stage, but there's no backstage. So so when I say goodbye and turn off the stream, that ends it there, and so that's it. And
Okay.
um, so I want to thank everybody for coming on in, and go and support underneath the veil of the Marigold's um, channel. And then if you can go over to my other channel, that's new Tools of Fortune. I'm just a few subs away from having the minimum number of subs so I can live stream on my Android device, and so forth. And thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Face of the Forest. Thank you, Essence of the Moon. Thank you, Madame Maru. Thank you, Miss Tarot D, for all your hard work today. Thank you, Essence of the Moon. Thank you, Janet Lee G. Thank you, Enthusiastic Strago. And let me see who else. There's my sister Anne. Thank you. And Kirk, if he's still there, thank you. And
Those are both me. Okay.
thank you, I'm using your nickname, Dara, for being
That's
here.
fine. Oh, thank you, Bill. I enjoyed this was good. I like this. Something different for me to try. So
Yeah, and it'll be easier the next time, and you won't feel so nervous.
yeah, yeah. Second time around is always a little better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All
Okay.
right. Good
All right.
night.
See ya. Bye.
Yeah, yeah. Bye.